Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Sarah. I'm a final year student here at Lancaster. And this year I was trying to answer the question why disabled people are underrepresented in architecture. But I want to start off with a scenario for you all. So for those of you who studied architecture, let me know if it sounds familiar. It's about a week before the final review or the crit, and you slowly find that you start not really feeling like yourself, a bit off colour. You come down with a cold, maybe a flu, and you still have to go in and present and get all your work finished. There's that pressure to struggle on and keep going. And I think for some students, it's a bit of a point of pride of showing up and, showing that and the lack of sleep, maybe the lack of nutrition, but mostly the stress and the effort that you've put in has had an effect on you. I know I've experienced that, and it's so common that it's a little bit of an in-joke between students. But this year, the students I've been speaking to, this culture for them is not just intense, but for some of them it's actually actively disabling. When I started this project, I wanted to come up with a series of quite succinct recommendations and an answer of how we solve this problem about diversity in our profession. But what I uncovered was an issue that runs a lot deeper than I could have possibly anticipated. Disabled students experience disproportionate levels of stress and exclusion compared to their peers. The structural barriers that exist for disabled students in the lack of access to the studio, in access arrangements that are reactive rather than built into the course, they then perpetuate their social exclusion, and this affects things like group work, their ability to communicate with each other in the studio, and the whole cycle continues, and it leads to a feeling that disabled students aren't welcome or they aren't expected. What worries me most about findings of my survey is that they're corroborated by a study that was commissioned by REBA back in 2011, which was done in preparation for the Equality Act. The difference with the Equality Act and what it replaced was that it ensured the right to work and the right to education. And so REBA did this huge study to see how well architecture was prepared for this. It found that for too long, architecture has been successful in excluding disabled students rather than including them. And it's so successful in this that a lot of students get the idea that architecture is not for them before they even get to university. And so when they get to university and they experience these things, it's felt all the more deeply. And it admits in the findings that whilst one of the aims of the research was to find examples of good practice, those examples were not forthcoming, which is to say that maybe we don't really know what an inclusive profession looks like. Something I noticed in the responses, there was a theme where students described the effect that university had on their health, and for some students it made their disability unmanageable, but for some students they didn't have any prior health issues, and they described a period of intense stress which caused a decline in their mental health, the development of a long-term health condition. And so I shifted my focus and I wanted to explore this further, so I put out a call for students to see if anyone had any experiences of experiencing health problems which they believe were directly caused by the stress of their education. To give you an idea of how common this problem is, about 2 hours after I put out the request, I checked my phone and I had way more people than I could possibly interview. This is an issue that I think goes beyond our legal duties and the accommodation provided to students, and actually is kind of embedded in the culture of architecture and the ableist norms that shape it. I think if we were able to design an education system that was inclusive, it would benefit all students, but also the wider profession, and we would be better able to design for the wide variety of the human race. I think my research, the biggest question it left me with was, how can we claim to design for a population that we've already excluded? So, thank you.